Today I'm working on this GP40. It's got a lot of weathering on it. It's a heavy weathering. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. Now, I'll let you have your own opinion. I like to keep my engines factory clean if I can. The reason being, if I put them up for sale, I think they're worth more money if they're clean. Rather than the heavy weathering like that, this I got it on eBay. This is where I didn't auction too well because it's a poor weathering job. So I'm not going to do a whole bunch to it. I'm going to clean it up as best I can. It's very dirty, in fact. I'm not even sure it's going to run. I got this at the same auction I got the F40PH. So let's go see if it runs. It runs pretty good actually. It's a little bit noisy, but other than that, it's not bad at all. Not bad at all, just a little noisy. Well, let's see if we can help it out a little bit. So under the shell is a very nice Atlas mechanism. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to work on my shell first. So I'm going to take this apart. I just want to go over maybe the windows could be cleaned a little bit to make them translucent. I would love that. And then to get to the windows, I have to get these tabs out. So I get the back out first, then I'll work on the front. I'm going to try to clean up the shell as best I can. The shell's held together by the windows, so I have to push these out carefully because these will break if you don't, if you're too rough on them. And there are these two pins also. But the windows hold the cab very well. So once you push the tabs out, it should come out very easily. Make sure your handrails don't go back in the cab. That would be bad. I'm gonna pull out the horn just because I want to make sure not to lose it. And I put this under my tap to clean it. So that's pretty important, and this should just come out. There's two tabs under there to hold it. Two little tabs down here. So again, you want to be gentle with that. Although these have a little bit more strength than the tabs for the windows. Just go nice and easy, and eventually it'll give up. And I'll also pry gently on the handrails. Now this helps me to get right in there so I can clean the walkways. This part of the walkways is very hard to get at. So by working very gently on this, I can remove them from the walkways. Definitely want to take your time with this. So I also managed to get my windows out. So I'm going to try and clean them out as best as I can. So I just ran my fingernail on it, and I was able to remove a lot of the dull coat, which to me that looks much more realistic to have shiny windows. Now I'm gonna attack the drivetrain. So we'll take off the gas tank, headlight shield. This lunette looks okay, everything is there. So the light shield and the two little circuit boards. And then the screws, I don't need to tighten them out all the way. Just enough to get my trucks off. And I want to retain the order at which they come out. Pretty easy. Now it feels sandy to me. So I want to get in there with my toothbrush and just wash everything inside there. Everything looks good in here though. That's a good sign. Actually looks pretty good in here. I'm just gonna put 2 drops of oil on it and that's it. That's all you need. And now this part's good. So this is where I'll spend the most of my energy, cleaning the wheels. I want to make sure that I got my wheels squeaky clean. That way I get optimal performance. So these are pretty sturdy, but you still want to be careful. This is available as a replacement part. It's not super expensive, but I just prefer not having to buy one. That would be great. So these look pretty clean. That's good news. That's going to go under my tap with some soap and water and my toothbrush. But before I do that, I'm going to get my rag here and make sure the wheels are very clean. This is what I prefer to do. By getting my nails with my rag in there, I know it's 100%. See, it wasn't that clean to begin with. So that makes a difference. I think every once in a while you need to get in there and do that. For my engines, I'll be honest with you, they sit around in the box most of the time. So I don't need to do it once a year, but if you run your engine every day, yeah, definitely. If you run it every day, maybe once every 2 months. There you go. Now that feels clean. Then putting it back together. It's super easy, barely an inconvenience. You just have to stick your wheels back on there. Your bearings and contacts. It's a good idea to at least look at them, make sure they're clean, but these are. So it's not going to be tough to put back together. So just make sure your ends are in the place for the bearings. And then the next side. Putting it back together wet, but by the time I'm ready to put them back, it'll be all dry. By the time they go back on the locomotive, I don't recommend any lubrication on this. There's a little bit of weathering on the side frames, but that's going to be okay. It doesn't really get into the way of anything. Check it with your finger. Make sure you're feeling no rolling resistance whatsoever. So I'll do the other side off camera, and I do them one at a time so I can maintain the order that they were taken out. I also have the video that I can go back to and check again just to make sure. Now that everything's clean, I'm gonna start putting it back together. Make sure you have your two insulators on the other side there. You definitely need those. Then I'll just guide these pins here through their holes. You can check as you go. I'll run it on my test bench every once in a while, just to make sure everything's where it should be and the locomotive's running fine. Sounds pretty good. And then I'll keep adding parts until I'm happy with the way it runs. So I don't tighten them all the way. I'll just use the two screws to hold everything in. And scale is going to be small parts. That's just the way it is. So because it hasn't been tightened all the way, I could put my trucks back in. Use gravity as your friend. And then once my trucks are in, I'll tighten it up. So make sure your trucks swivel. And the little contact pins, here I'll refocus that for you. These little contact pins have to be touching. So make sure that everything is lined up properly. The gas tank holds them in. So as you put your gas tank, you make sure that everything's lined up. And if it is, you can proceed. Yep, that looks pretty good. And before I put the shell back on, I'm going to test it on the bench. Sounds pretty good. Put the light boards back up. Put my light shield. There we go. And I'm going to reassemble the shell now. So despite having this heavy weathering, it still looks pretty good to me. It's got rapido couplers on, but that's fine. Half of my stuff has rapidos anyways. And I definitely don't want to forget the horn. I don't know why such a little piece makes such a big difference for me, but it does. Very important. And now it's time to run some trains. Well, I hope this video was useful to you. See you soon.